Hello, this is Slate with Combo of Rocks, bringing you another video deck tech of a deck that we built by request and sold. If you're not familiar with us, we make and sell custom budget EDH decks. These decks are light on the budget, so they may not be optimal or competitive, but they're definitely fun and centered around an essential theme that you can build on. Today we have Brago, King of Turtle, which is 2 white blue for a 2/4 legendary creature spirit with flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of non-land permanents you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's controls. This deck is all about blinking creatures, so let's get into the deck. We have another commander option here in Kaikar Zephyr Awakener. 2 white blue for a 3/4 legendary bird wizard with flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one. Exile another target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the next end step, or create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. We have Hallowed Respite. Blue-white, exile target non-legendary creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it entered under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it, otherwise tap it. You can also flash it back for 1 blue-white. Twining Twins. 2 blue-blue for 4/4 flying, vigilance, and ward 1. It's got an adventure instant, 1 and a white, swift spiral. Exile target non-token creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Sun Titan, 4 white for a 6/6 giant with vigilance. When it enters or attacks, you can return a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Semester's End, 3 and a white instant, exile any number of creatures or planeswalkers you control. On your next end step, return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. Each of them enters with a 1/1 counter if it's a creature, or an additional loyalty if it's a planeswalker. Skyclave Apparition, 1 white for a 2/2 core spirit. When it enters, exile a target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with mana value 4 or less. When it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates an XX blue illusion, where X is the mana value of the exiled card. Unidentified Hover Ship, 1 white for a 2/2 flying vehicle. When it enters, exile 1 target creature with toughness 5 or less. When it leaves, the exiled card's owner manifests dread. This does have crew 1. Mysterious Limousine, 3 white for 4/4 vehicle. When it enters or attacks, exile up to 1 target creature until it leaves the battlefield. If a creature is put into exile this way, return each other card exiled with Mysterious Limousine to the battlefield under its owner's control with crew 2. Stoic Farmer, 3 and a white for a 3/3 dwarf peasant. When it enters, search for basic planes. Reveal it if an opponent controls more lands than you, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Then shuffle. Foretell, 1 and a white. Glorious Protector, 2 white for a 3/4 angel cleric with flash and flying. When it enters, you can exile any number of non-angel creatures until it leaves the battlefield, and you do foretell it for 2 and a white. Restoration Angel, 3 and a white for a 3/4 flash flying angel. When it enters, you can exile target non-angel creature, then return it to the battlefield under your control. Another round, XX 2 and a white, exile any number of creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield under their owner's controls. Then repeat this process X more times. If you want to make use of your enter the battlefield effects, this is a good way to do it. Clone, 3 and a blue for a 0/0 shapeshifter. You can have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, allowing us to even blink. If our opponent has a creature with a good ETB effect, we can copy it with Clone and then blink it over and over. Conjurer's Closet, 5 mana artifact on your end step. You can exile a creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. Panharmonicon, 4 mana artifact. If an artifact or creature enters, causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, and it triggers an additional time. Mirror of Life Trapping, 4 mana artifact. Whenever a creature enters, if it was cast, exile it, then return all other permanent cards exiled with Mirror of Life Trapping to the battlefield under their owner's controls. Just kind of a quirky way to kind of put a spin on the game. Solemn Simulacrum, 4 mana 2/2. When it enters, search for a basic land, put on the battlefield tapped. When it dies, draw a card. Scampering Surveyor, 4 mana 3/2. When it enters, search for a basic or a cave, put on the battlefield tapped. Into some mana rocks, we have Azorius Signet, Talisman of Progress. Azorius Locket can be sacked to draw 2 cards. Firemind Missile taps for 2 colors. Navigation Orb, our color is Cultivate, also search for gates. Sky Diamond, Marble Diamond, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble, or colorless Rampant Growth. Mind Stone can be sacked to draw a card. Meteor Golem enters and destroys a non-land permanent and opponent controls. OG, the Exquisite Blade, 2 blue for a 2/3 legendary human monk. When it enters, scry 2 and gain 2 life. When you cast your second spell each turn, exile a creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Soul Herder, 1 blue for a 1/1 spirit. Whenever a creature is exiled from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it, and on your end step, you can exile a creature you control and then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Elite Guard Mage, 2 blue for a 2/3 human wizard with flying. When it enters, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Angel of the Ruins, 5 white for a 5/7 flying angel. When it enters, exile up to 2 target artifacts or enchantments. You can also plane cycle it for 2 colorless. Core Cartographer, 3 and a white for 2/2 when it enters, search for planes, put on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Scouting Hawk, 2 and a white for 1/1 flying bird. When it enters, if an opponent controls more lands than you, search for basic planes, put on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Oreskos Explorer, 1 and a white for 2/2 cat scout. When it enters, search your library for up to X planes, where X is the number of players who control more lands than you. Reveal those cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Palace Jailer, 2 white for 2/2 when it enters, you become the monarch. When it enters, exile target creature an opponent controls until they become the monarch. If this leaves the battlefield before they become the monarch, then they never get that creature back. And this is a great creature to blink. Urbis Protector, 4 white for a 1/1 human cleric. When it enters, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Stonehorn Dignitary, 3 and a white for 1/4 Rhino Soldier. When it enters, target opponent skips their next combat phase. If you got plenty of ways to blink your creatures, your opponents are never going to be able to attack again. Cloud Shift, 1 white for an instant. Exile a creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. Settle Beyond Reality, 4 and a white, choose one or both. Exile a creature you don't control, or exile a creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Pegasus Guardian, 5 and white with an instant adventure. 1 and white, exile target creature you control, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. It is a 3/3 flying, and on your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield, create a 1/1 white Pegasus creature token with flying. Forbidding Spirit, 1 white for a 3/3 Spirit Cleric. When it enters, until your next turn, creatures can attack you or Planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 2 for each of those creatures. Moving on to the next card. Mage's Attendant, 2 and white for a 3/2 Cat Rogue. When it enters, create a 1/1 blue wizard creature token with pay 1. Sack this creature, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. Tax Collector, 1 and a white for a 2/2. When it enters, choose 1. Until your next turn, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast. And Arrest, detain target creature and opponent controls. Flicker Wisp, 1 white for 3/1 flying elemental. When it enters, exile another target permanent. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Wisp Weaver Angel, 4 white for a 4/4 flying angel. When it enters, exile another creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Witch Enchanter, 3 and a white for a 2/2 human warlock. When it enters, destroy an artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. On the other side, it's a land that can enter tapped or untapped if you want to pay 3 life. Hydraulic Specimen, or Hydroelectric Specimen, 2 and a blue for a 1/4 flash weird. When it enters, change the target of target instant or sorcery with a single target to this card. Also can be a blue version of that land. Phyrexian Ingester, 4 and a blue for a 3/3 Phyrexian Beast. When it enters, exile target non-token creature. It gets +X/+Y, where X is the exiled creature's power and Y is its toughness. Sky Skipper Duo, 4 and a blue for a 3/3 Bird Frog with flying. When it enters, exile up to 1 target creature you control. Return to the battlefield on the next end step. Watcher for Tomorrow, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 human wizard with Hideaway. So you look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile one of them face down, and the rest go on their bottom. When it leaves, put the exile card into its owner's hands. This is a great one to blink because you are going to hide away a card when he comes back into play, or when he leaves the battlefield, you get that card into your hand. When he comes back into play, you hide away another card, so on and so forth. Experimental Aviator, 3 blue for a 0/3 human artificer. Flying, when it enters, creates 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. Shipwreck Dowser, 3 blue for a 3/3 Merfolk Wizard with Prowess. When it enters, return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Blur, 2 and a blue, exiles a creature, then returns it to the battlefield under its owner's control. You draw a card. Teferi's Time Twist, 1 and a blue instant, exile target permanent you control, return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. If it was a creature, put a 1/1 counter on it. Planar Incision, 1 and a blue instant, exile target artifact or creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. Twist Reality, 1 blue, choose 1, and counter target spell or manifest dread. Familiar's Ruse, blue instant, as an additional cost to cast, return a creature to its owner's hand, counter target spell. Blue counters any spell. Negate counters a non-creature spell. Disdainful Stroke counters a spell mana value 4 or greater. Fear of Imposters is a 1 blue 3/2 enchantment creature nightmare with flash. When it enters, counter target spell, its controller manifests dread. Disappearing Act, 1 blue, additional cost to cast, return a permanent to its owner's hand, counter target spell. Now onto some lands here. We have Glacial Fortress, Adakar Wastes, Temple of Enlightenment, Skycloud Expanse, Prairie Stream, Irrigated Farmland, Fort Town, Azorius Chancery, Gates of Isfel can be sacked to gain 2 and draw 2 cards, Skybridge Towers, Idyllic Beachfront, Azorius Guildgate, Myriad Landscape can search for a couple basic lands, Command Tower, and then some basic plains and islands. That's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it, but we'll see you next time.